It's a chilly night in Beijing, 1908. The Forbidden City is quiet, its golden roofs shining faintly in the moonlight. Suddenly, shadows move. A group of palace guards, eunuchs, and officials hurry through the gates. They are not here to take anyone away. They are here to bring back a tiny, terrified 2-year-old boy. He hides in a cupboard, screaming and scratching, but it is no use. They lift him into their arms and carry him through the massive palace doors. This frightened child is about to become the Emperor of China. His name is Puyi, and he will be treated as a living god, though his life will be far from godlike. Puyi's life began in a whirlwind of luxury and isolation. Though he lived in the most magnificent palace in the world, he was essentially a prisoner. The Forbidden City, with its sprawling halls, golden rooftops, and serene gardens, was both his home and his cage. At just 2 years old, he became the Emperor of China, but he could not understand what that meant. Each day was filled with rituals that confused and frightened him. Officials bowed deeply, touching their heads to the ground in a gesture called the kowtow, pledging loyalty with words that made no sense to the tiny child. The one person who could soothe him, his beloved wet nurse Wang, was not allowed to attend these ceremonies, leaving Puyi cold, lonely, and terrified. He missed her terribly, though he hardly remembered his biological mother. As he grew, Puyi's life was a strange mix of indulgence and discipline. His clothes carefully selected and had to be new each day. His meals prepared by eunuchs who had been castrated to guarantee the emperor's sole fertility, and his every action observed. Yet, despite this rigid life, Puyi was mischievous and curious. He delighted in puppet shows, clever pranks, and games with the eunuchs, often testing the limits of his power. But outside the Forbidden City, China was changing. The Qing dynasty, which had ruled for over 250 years, was weakening. By 1911, revolt spread across the country, fueled by resentment against Manchu rule, foreign exploitation, and hunger for reform. In 1912, the dynasty collapsed. Puyi officially abdicated the throne, but continued to live in the Forbidden City, still surrounded by servants and attended by his personal allowance. Though he had no real power, his life became a strange play, part childhood, part royal charade. By 1924, at 18, Puyi was forced to leave the Forbidden City. For the first time, he glimpsed a world beyond the palace, a world he had always imagined but never experienced. At first, freedom seemed like a gift. He could walk in the streets, dress like an ordinary person, and escape the endless ceremonies. But soon his life took another turn. The Japanese enthroned him as the puppet emperor of Manchukuo in 1932, a regime built on their occupation of China. For 11 years, Puyi was a ruler in name only, compelled to legitimize Japanese control while powerless to prevent their crimes. When the Soviets invaded Manchuria in 1945, Puyi was captured and later sent back to China, where he became prisoner number 981 in the Fushun Re-Education Center. Prison was a harsh awakening for the former emperor. The living god who once had servants to tie his shoes, brush his teeth, and attend to his every need, was now learning the simplest daily tasks. He wrote essays on his past mistakes, reflected on the atrocities committed during his puppet reign, and slowly transformed under the communist re-education system. After 9 years, he emerged weak, humbled, and obedient. The once divine figure became a private citizen, quietly living with his sister in Beijing, guiding tourists in the Forbidden City, and eventually working as a gardener. He had lived a life of unimaginable highs and devastating lows, from the height of absolute power to the humblest of existences. But there were moments that defined his humanity even in his youth. Under the guidance of Reginald Johnston, a British tutor who entered the Forbidden City as a quiet, learned man, Puyi was exposed to Western culture, philosophy, and history. He fell in love with English books, films, and bicycles, began dressing like a Western gentleman, and even played harmless pranks with the telephone, one of the first royal prank calls in history. Yet his fascination with the outside world could never free him. When he tried to escape to study at Oxford, Johnston refused, and the palace's dowager consorts ensured his entrapment, selecting brides for him from small photographs, leaving him awkward, inexperienced, and painfully human in matters of love and desire. Marriage offered little solace. Puyi chose Wengxiu as his empress, a young girl whose presence he barely understood. On their wedding night, terrified and unprepared, he ran from the room. Years later, historians would speculate that he was either biologically incapable of producing children or perhaps homosexual, leaving him emotionally and physically unfulfilled. His personal life mirrored the chaos of China itself. The republic rose and fell, warlords fought for power, foreign powers exploited the land, and Puyi's own role shifted like the tides. Throughout his life, Puyi was shaped by power and its absence. As a child, he wielded authority over servants, punishing them for minor offenses with delight. As a puppet emperor, he enacted laws he neither believed in nor understood. As a prisoner, he confronted his own failures and the horrors of his complicity in Japanese occupation. Each stage of his life revealed a different face: terrified toddler, spoiled child, mischievous prince, powerless puppet, repentant prisoner, and finally, humble citizen. In all these lives, he was searching for freedom, for meaning, for a normal life he had been denied. Eventually, Puyi found a quiet existence, tending gardens, guiding tourists, and reflecting on a life that had spanned the final days of Imperial China, its collapse, the rise of Japanese occupation, civil war, and communist rule. Yet his story remained extraordinary, a testament to the fragility of power and the resilience of the human spirit. On 17 October 1967, Puyi passed away in Beijing at the age of 61 from kidney cancer and heart disease. His ashes were laid to rest near the tombs of his ancestors, closing the chapter on a life that had witnessed the end of an empire, the cruelty of war, the chains of imprisonment, and the unexpected gift of humility. And that is the life of Puyi, the last emperor of China, a boy who was taken from his home to rule a nation, who lived through unimaginable highs and crushing lows, and who finally found peace in his quiet final days. Thank you for listening.